listen with an open heart.
Dalam seminar bertajuk Leader in Tune, Miha Pogacnik menilai kepemimpinan dan seni memiliki banyak kesamaan. Dalam menjalankan bisnis, pemimpin harus memiliki visi dan ide kreatif. Sama seperti seniman yang juga perlu memiliki visi dan ide kreatif dalam membuat musik. Pogacnik pun mengajak pemimpin bisnis mengaplikasikan musical implementation strategy dengan bertransformasi dan berevolusi seperti musik.
So I decompose music in front of people so they can participate in exact steps of this evolution, and then they learn. And because it's beautiful, people open their hearts and they learn in different way and they remember. Because if you teach people only by telling them things and putting on a PowerPoint, it comes in here and out here.
Salah seorang peserta seminar kepemimpinan, Putu Kresna, mengaku terhibur dan terkesan dengan kemampuan musikal Pogacnik. Ia pun mendapat materi yang menarik yang dapat diimplementasikan dalam bisnisnya.
Saya rasa saya tadi dengar ada beberapa ide bagus dari dia, antara lain misalnya kalau Anda sudah sukses, itu mungkin saatnya Anda untuk mengubah untuk ganti halauan lagi gitu ya, agar Anda tidak terjebak dalam kesuksesan. Saya pikir beberapa ide bagus dari dia perlu untuk saya terapkan dan mungkin untuk saya share ke tim saya.
Miha Pogacnik adalah seorang musisi sekaligus pembicara dalam seminar motivasi dan kepemimpinan selama 20 tahun terakhir. Melalui biola, ia berhasil menjadi konsultan dari beberapa perusahaan ternama dunia seperti Microsoft, Volkswagen, dan dalam organisasi PBB. Saat ini Miha Pogacnik menjabat sebagai duta budaya di negara asalnya Slovenia.
Ya, seorang pemimpin yang baik dan sukses baik di sebuah perusahaan atau maupun di masyarakat biasanya adalah mereka yang bisa mewujudkan visinya menjadi kenyataan dan diimplementasi. Oleh sebab itu biasanya seorang pemimpin itu memerlukan strategi yang baik sehingga kepemimpinan mereka juga jauh lebih efektif. Nah, ada bermacam-macam gaya kepemimpinan dan banyak juga yang bisa dipelajari. Nah, salah satu cara kepemimpinan yang kita bisa pelajari adalah ternyata lewat musik. Nah, kali ini Insight akan berbicara dengan seorang pakar kepemimpinan yang juga seorang pemain musik klasik biola dan juga duta budaya dari Slovenia. Bersama saya adalah Miha Pogacnik. Hello Miha. It's good to see you. How are you?
I feel always very well if somebody from another culture is able to say my name properly. So my congratulations.
Well, and this is not your first time in Indonesia. You've been to Indonesia before. In Bali. But this time you are here on a very special mission, which is to teach about leadership through music. And you are here with your violin, and Miha is a very well-known classical violinist, musician. Yeah? But could you tell us a little bit about, perhaps for a lot of us, so what's the relationship between music and leadership, or learning how to be a good leader? Where does the relationship come from?
Well, don't you know that if organization is actually going very well, then people say, "Ooh, this is like music." That tells it all. In other words, I very often compare organization with symphony orchestra. European symphony orchestra is very much composed of different groups of people, and everybody who is in the orchestra must better practice and always get better, because
there's one conductor.
There is a conductor, but the orchestra has good players and they are having a very good teams. But now the difference between orchestra and organization comes when you ask, what are they playing? Now, orchestra plays a genius masterpiece, and organizations, they play sometimes a bottom line. Many companies don't go beyond just making money and so on.
Profit is very important.
Profit is very important. So, unfortunately, that is not enough of inspiration for the players of organization to drop the ego and go to something much higher. So the artists, which are big egos, I would say. No, they were quite special people, but I would be very careful to say that they are great people. But artists, as soon as they play masterpiece, they change. They are like half gods. But in organizations, what is missing, I say? Well, what is missing is a masterpiece. They have to have a meaning that they play. So what they do with organization must increase in their meaning and in purpose. And they must feel that what they do creates something extraordinary in the world, not just making money. And so, of course, it's important, bottom line. That's what business is about, isn't it? In a way. But I say, through music, one can actually create a different type of capital, which is development of human being. And that's why I'm here now to discuss these issues.
Which is sort of something higher when we say, we make beautiful music together. And it's interesting because with the music that we're talking about here, it's more or less classical music, with the orchestra, everybody has their instrument, and then you have a conductor, and if everybody plays their part well, and you can create something so beautiful and so much bigger than each individual part. And now you yourself, Miha, with your very expensive violin, but tell us your own personal journey that takes you from a musician, a violinist, into somebody who is now teaching about leadership too.
Well, thank you for asking that question. It's
it's very unique.
Yeah,
because, normally we're used to seeing leadership talk by people with PowerPoint.
PowerPoint, yes, and I always say
with violin.
PowerPoint without power, because it's information. You see, we have too much information in our time, and that leads me to telling you why I'm doing this. Because when you play concert, when you play for people, you have immediately the feeling something changes in the human experience, in the heart. It speaks very much directly to human heart. But not only that, because music is very structured. So I would say it is like mathematics of the heart. It is structured, but it leads you from stage to stage to the higher or deeper layers of human experience, which is necessary in order to be responsible leader. Now, my journey to this place has gone through a number of stages. I say a little bit in a funny way, I'm already starting the fourth life in this life.
The fourth life?
Fourth life, yeah. Okay. The first life was becoming a violinist, and that has always stayed with me. I've always...
And since how old were you?
Oh, I started with 5, so that's already centuries ago. So I started with the violin because I was inspired as a young boy, and I wanted to just be the best. And then I did get somewhere, and I played many thousands concerts. But then I noticed that just playing concerts, you actually lift your audience to a certain point, and then it's the end. And then they drink something, and so when they go home, it's over. And for me, the feeling is now we should start and not the end. At the end of the concert, it should be new beginning, and then something should be done with that. So I was frustrated, just play concerts and not to be able to have an influence directly into the problems of society. But because in my heart, I'm also entrepreneur, not just a violinist. I like to bring innovation to the world. So at that moment, I stepped out of this fixed system, which is called cultural life. I stepped out, and I noticed that in cultural life, everybody's under one tree, barking there and trying to survive. And on the other side of the river, there is a jungle, and nobody's there. This is called economy, the jungle of economy. So suddenly, I was alone in this economic world. But before I did that, second life, I actually discovered that you can activate your audience. And that was in 80s, long time ago.
But what was the actual trigger then? Especially?
The trigger was...
Could you remember that moment when you sort of went, what, I really need to transform myself?
It was in 70s in upstate New York. At that time I was living in the United States, when I was confronted with the audience of handicapped people in need of special care, adults. And they said to me, we don't know how to listen to music, teach us. So I explained to them music, how it is, and they, I lost them. So I noticed, you cannot explain music, you have to become phenomenologist. You have to put yourself out of your musical knowledge and observe from somebody's point of view who has no idea about music. And then Does it go up? Does it go down? What are the feelings accompanying? Does it go in? Does it expand? Does it become fine, sensitive? So I started observing in non-musical terms. What is the landscape of evolving music? And how does it feel? So I started helping my audience to teach their attention how to listen, what is really happening, to take them out of just liking it, but to take them out and observing exactly what is happening. And because the music I am pleased to play is masterpieces, a great genius masterpieces, they have an inner structure, and I call it architecture of feelings, or architecture, emotional architecture. So, and if you know how to enter the temple of emotional architecture, then you are surrounded by very intense environment which brings the best out of you. Now we are talking about leadership. You see,
Sorry, but what was the response when you started teaching and guiding them?
They became my best audience. I had 12 years at Midwinter Festival for these people, every February. And when I came every February, they screamed, because that was high point for them, that I spent 4 or 5 days with them with great literature of music every day. And also, so they became my best audience, and I was learning. So ever since, I have had this early experience with so-called people in need of special care. I try not to say handicapped, because we are all handicapped to some degree. You know, we have to be honest.
Abilities.
Different, yes. So anyway, so people in need of special care. So since then, I noticed that the other people are also handicapped, and I am also handicapped in some way. So I said, stop with just concerts. How about, before I play the concert, I help my audience to enter this marvelous landscape of musical evolution, to enter responsibly in the same way as a performer, with same intention, with same responsible kind of inner gesture, you know, that you don't just listen and have an...
And you notice a difference in the way that they appreciate the concert?
For instance, when I work with corporate leadership audiences, no? We first go through this musical process, and then at the very end I perform. But then they listen with 7 ears, not just with one, because they became part of it. They stepped into the music. They're not outside being entertained, and some like it and some not. I take them inside. You know, we talked about orchestra. You know how I do my flagship workshop? I use the symphony orchestra, and I make space between the players, and there I put my executives to sit among the players, so they are inside of the music. And then I treat this event in my... I have special method, no? I have special method where I play and stop, and play and stop. And you know, when you listen to music, when you stop, people, you know, they don't like it, because music is beautiful and you want to listen. But I stop, you know, and that is called interruptive method. And look at that. I do this for 30 years, and now suddenly in Silicon Valley they discovered also interruptive method. And they think it's their invention, but it's mine. I've been doing this for 30 years, but it took me 30 years to get this out to the world.
The words that they used to describe I mean, obviously, for the first time that they listened to your method of, you know, playing music and stopping and then guiding them, what sort of feedback did you get in terms of how they felt and what they got out of it, and how they actually used that knowledge and that experience to improve themselves afterwards, whether it's in their personal life or how they work in their businesses?
You are asking a very key question, because this method I have been now practicing 25, 30 years, and especially in organizations at least 26 years indeed. And I'll tell you, at the core it is a dynamics where you start with experience and then you come into insight. And most teaching today is you get insight, you get ideas and so on, maybe some experience at the end, not always, or they go dancing at the end of many PowerPoint presentations. But I reverse this, and I start with experience, and then I help my clients to experience this very consciously, but they become able to learn from musical experience for solution of their dilemmas. So I transfer musical strategy into the organizational dilemma solution. So that is my contribution. It means jumping the spark from one area, which we know it's a great and glorious area with hundreds of years of development, great music. But that kind of glorious masterpiece experience is then transferred into a concrete learning of how to go through crisis in order to find a better solution for your organization. So that is my key message.
Yeah, so what type of leadership would you say is the sort of leadership that you are imparting, sharing, and teaching?
Well, it is a leadership that in the very first place includes the factor of resonance. I don't know if you know the Chladni-Figures law. There is a law, a natural law, where you put little dust of iron on a plate, of iron plate, and then you strike it with a violin bow on the edge. So the plate starts to resonate, and all those particles, they come into beautiful forms. They form themselves through the resonance, through vibration. They make beautiful forms. So the music brings things in form, but not form, in a beautiful form. That means if you create an environment that resonates through people, they open up to the possibility to become creative in their problem solutions. So they become creators, co-creators of their challenges as business leaders. They are not alone at the top of the pyramid giving the orders and having this responsibility if things go sour. It is really much on the horizontal level where everybody who is involved with each one's very specific capability, unique personality, unique knowledge, experience of life, and so on. Everybody can contribute. And music, a great music, classical music, lifts the people to the level where they forget the file and rank. I'm CEO and you are just, so you forget that.
Because music speaks to you.
Yeah, you become human. So I try to release the human being inside of the human. And that one is the one who is destined to grow. Because we have, all of us, something that has solidified into the present state of where we are, and somebody inside who wants to grow further into something new.
So it can be transformative.
And I try to speak to that one inside of the people. I call it artist in everybody. I try to call that artist to become awake and to start creating space inside for new approach, new capabilities, new sensibilities, new
ways of
attitudes, new attitudes, and so on. Yeah. So and that is, I call this a creative detour. So I take people through music on that level, and they forget about their file and rank and hierarchy and pressing problems and all that. So they experiment in an easy way in the music and in the art, the possibility solutions, and then they come back and they are creative. What does that mean? That means that I do not come in a company as a traditional consultant and I see the problem and I say, this is your problem and this is what you should do. It's like if you put somebody, say, has a wound, you put the finger in the wound, they say, ouch, and they close up. They want to listen to you. But if you take them elegantly on the detour and they experience something great, they experience problems in a music. There are also crises and solutions. So they experience that there, and that comes back, and they themselves find solution for their problem.
Okay, Miha, tell me a little bit about some of the examples of the companies that you help, and normally what sort of problems do they face, and how did working with you or you sort of helping them on this creative detour actually help the company at the end of the day to improve their bottom line, make everybody work together in a much better teamwork?
Well, you see,
share with us.
I cannot name the companies because
you don't
of
have
it.
to, but
let's say
companies that you help.
say banking sector or so on. I will tell you. Before I say that, I make a little introduction in order for you to understand.
Okay, sure. And you've got your flip chart.
Here, First of all, I would just like for
Johnny, I can hold your violin for you.
Oh, yeah, you can. I would like to show to your audience how it, in a practical terms, how that works. And then I'm going to show how that is implemented in the group work of the company.
Okay,
yes? Is that okay?
Yep.
So, first thing, if I just play, for instance, if I start, you can notice there is this energy. But now we have to differentiate very clearly what is exactly happening, because almost every note makes sense, but sense in a context. So when I start this is a fugue by Bach. So when I do that, it is like, it's like vision. It's like directing the view, the inner vision, so to say, and it goes in that direction. So that's how it starts. There. Can you hear that? So, and then the next step, it says, see, in a second step, the line or the intention of music goes up and then goes down, and then it goes again in the right direction. So that means if you have idea, you must mobilize everything above and everything below. And then the idea gains power. Otherwise, it's just PowerPoint. There's no power, you understand? So music tells you what is above and what is below, inside, that you need to generate as a, fire from below, ideas from above. And then it goes, but that's not the end. Then the third step, then it's this action. Then it's the action. Now, look at that. You have, on one hand, vision, you have mobilization and motivation, and then you have action. These are two.
And you have beautiful music together.
Yeah, that's.
I have to say, you play very well.
Well, but the point is, thank you very much. The point is that here you can listen and just say, oh, very nice. Or you can actually hear an exact plan that music wants to bring certain type of direction and energy in order to implement this idea. Because this is an idea. Let's imagine everybody in Indonesia would have the right goal, and everybody would be fully involved, and then everybody would go in action. We'd be the best country in the world. Now, to your question about how it works in the companies. The way I work is, as I told you, resonance is at the center. And I must now tell you something very personal. So many people listening, but it's very personal. I discovered the most powerful resonance on earth when I played 2 years ago in the Cheops pyramid near Gizeh, near Cairo.
In Egypt.
10 minutes, then they threw me out. That's against the law because it's forbidden. It's forbidden. I was commando action I made, so I was playing and kicking people away. So then But in a pyramid, I played there in the center, here, and it knocked me out. Since then, I talk about HR. Human resonance. Okay, HR.
Not human resources.
Not human resources. Human resonance. So that means the challenge for HR is to create resonance in the company so that you can deal with the real problems, not with the little ego problems. Resonance is here and the ego stuff is here. So it's not any more interesting. Now this, I'm just now aiming at your question, but first you have to understand these kind of pyramid is a symbol of a problem of our society, because it is called Maslow pyramid. You know, at the bottom you have basic needs. You know, eating, drinking, sleeping, budgets, and so very heavy every day. So it's exhausting, you know, to meet all the demands that we have. So we never can get above. Yeah? We maybe get as far as this. Here is ego, you know, you have to have a diploma on the wall, you have to be applauded. Yes, you have to be, everybody's fantastic. Yeah, excellent. So now what I want to say is this here, this is the meaning. Here is the genius, creativity, beauty, meaning. All the best things in life are here. What is life all about? But we get stuck here, so we cannot get there. So we have a problem. Now, what I do with my approach, and what all genuine artists do, if they are real artists, we just simply turn the pyramid on the head. And we educate ourselves that genius, road to genius, creativity, meaning, love, this is our basic need. Not this. This is our basic need. So, but you have to educate yourself. It's not easy because we are stuck on here, you know, bottom line. So we educate ourselves. This is the basic need. And out of this concept, I developed a method to help in a company. So now we are there with your question. Because it's this way. You know, there are 7 different arts. One can identify 7, I call it different formative forces of art. And the oldest, of course, here in Indonesia is architecture. Yeah? Then the next one is sculpture. And then the next one is painting. You see, these are all visual arts in sense 3 dimension, 2 dimension, 1 dimension. And then comes music. Here in the middle of the fire is the music. The music is the most inside. Now, watch out. Now comes the dynamics of corporate learning. I take music, and if music goes into painting and makes it audible, so painting, you know, you look at Kandinsky and you can hear it because it's musical. And some paintings, they don't resound, but some they have music. So you do this, and it goes through this intense resonance. On the other side comes poetry. You see? Poetry. Now, if you take music and you drive to the sculpture, so this is rigid sculpture, and it goes through resonance. On the other side comes dance or movement or choreography. Let's say choreography. Yeah. And finally, if the music embraces architecture and drives it through the resonance, here comes what? What comes there?
I don't know.
Well, this is the highest art. Look, here in architecture, you have pillars who hold, you know, the static and all the dynamics of the structure. It's beton, it's stone, you know. And here, it's also structured, but it is human beings who hold it. This is the highest art. One can say societal or social art. So this is the finest art because everybody, now imagine in a company where I come to help, they have fixed architecture and they have fixed people, you know, job description. They are in the boxes, they know what they have to do and they cannot go out of the box and all that. So I have to deal with this problem, but they would like to be here. So they would like to be here, but they know that they cannot go like this. They have to go like this. You see, that's the point. So I take people first through music, and I take them through the journey that music enables to experience, which has everything in it what we know as a problem and solution in organization. You know, going through command control to this horrible fear that you have when you are employed and they don't listen to you. You know, you let go. Then you go to exploring from the from the vertical to horizontal organization, exploring, having fun. You know, innovation, going through fire of danger, breakthrough, going through crisis, and on the other side, you actually win your new approach, which is you know exactly what you want to do. You create a small prototype in organization that is very good and vibrant, and it starts scaling. At the end, it scales to the whole organization, and there is transformation. This process is called Theory U by Otto Scharmer, and that is known here in Indonesia. I'm very proud that this is there. But I take them first through music, and when we are finished, now you must understand, I get briefing. So I know exactly the problem of the company. I know where they would like to go. And because they are here and here stuck. So now I go with them through music. And then they go in small teams and they have to paint together. They have to paint small painting, each of them, in which they paint their most important ideas they heard in music. And then they put the paintings on a big canvas together with space in between, and together they paint the transitions. So I have like 10 teams of 10 people, and they make one painting, which is 10 paintings, but it's one, because at the end they make transitions. You see, through painting, they come already in conversation without words. And then they, out of this experience and out of music experience, they together make a poetry. And in the poetry, they include their vision, mission, values, all these things, a musical experience. And out of that, as a group, they make a poem. And when they have done the poem, they make choreography out of the poem and out of the painting. So they move from here to here, from where they are stuck and where they want to be. They, like a sculpture, somebody is a sculptor and the other 9 people are the stuff for sculpture. They are like a material for sculpture. So they make a human sculpture that moves sometimes in a very funny way. And then when that's done, now they perform for each other. And we are listening, and each group goes and performs. First, they perform only choreography, no words. So everybody's wondering, what are they trying to say? And then they do it with a poem, and at the end they show the painting. So it goes backwards. And this is the performance. Now, when we go through this, it takes one day. At the end of the day, I cannot tell you, they are completely changed. And these are, managers who are in banking or in electronics or whatever.
Like how? What's
they are creative,
change?
they are fun. Or we are rolling on the floor sometimes from
It's like you're being children.
Proud.
It's like you're being children again.
Yeah. They at the end, sometimes if there is time, I have observers always who observe the process and tell the process, and observers make one poem out of 10 poems. So this one poem is then like DNA, the new DNA of the company. Before they ordered, McKinsey or Accenture to make vision and mission, they pay a lot of money and they put it in the wall and nobody reads it. Now they make their innermost kind of vision and mission that is expressed through the art.
Miha, let me ask you, because obviously, the people that you're, doing this leadership course with or you teach, these are, adults and very serious, and they're normally, very maybe high up in the hierarchy. What were the sort of were there any sort of resistance in the beginning? Because a lot of the activities, they're a lot of fun, but maybe some of them, they've been so sort of cut off from their childhood experience of, getting their hands dirty in paintings and sculpting and having to write poetry. What are the main difficulties?
You have a lot of life experience, so you are really asking the right questions. This is very good. Yeah. Okay. So now, that is my job at the first step when I take them through music. Some of them are really full of knots, like this. And before they open up, it takes a while. But this is my art. I have all kind of tricks to know how to get them out of their resistance. Mm-hmm. And after a while, my advantage is that I perform masterpieces. And they may think of me, oh, well, this strange guy, but nobody dares to say, well, Mozart and Beethoven and Bach, nobody dares, because they would come out very silly, obviously. Mm-hmm. So this is my advantage, that I use something that is universally acknowledged as genius. Mm-hmm. So I use that as a basis of my attempt to help. Therefore, in most cases, we manage to get. Sometimes things get sour, but very rarely.
But how about with, say, companies with people who, for example, oh, I don't play music, I don't like music, or I'm not into art. I mean, you know.
Yeah. Well, you know, I very early in my process tell them that music is not about liking and disliking, that is only reaction. I say reaction, you live outside the door before you come to this place where we work together. You know, liking, disliking is called sympathy, antipathy, trap. You are trapped in reacting. And I try to get that the first thing out of the people. Don't think you have to like it. Listen, I'll guide you. And you will see how beautiful it is and how much sense it makes. Now stop liking it. You know?
For 30 years, you've been doing this, and you've done this all over the world, presumably. You know,
mm-hmm. Yes.
Do you see more and more people beginning to get it, whatever it is, you know, that you're trying to do?
Yes. It's art is becoming very powerful now on the scene to help where we are stuck. And I must tell you, honestly, I am now 2 days in Jakarta. And I'm filled with great gratitude. It is such a fantastic atmosphere here for this kind of approach. Really,
well, I mean,
I'm not saying that just to say the right word. I'm not political here. I'm really deeply impressed. And I just hope that this can go on, because there are some brilliant people here who are really immediate. You know, you have so much art in your centuries of what was living here before, so much sensitivity, all that you'll see on the furniture, on everything you look at. I mean, not what is now the latest devices, but I mean, all that is truly Indonesian in its tradition. It's so beautiful.
Yeah, we have lots of art, but often, you know, it's, like you said, it's siloed, and then once you get into the companies, you become sort of, whether it's the you know, the bottom line profit, and then when you go, you want to have a bit of art, then you go to the concert and so on. Let me just ask you about the type of music. Obviously, your background is classical music.
I hear your questions.
Yeah, the basis.
I need polyphonic music. I need polyphonic music, because if we have polyphonic music, which is European music, many voices at the same time in relationship. I'll tell you a very funny story, and very characteristic story. When modern Turkey was established in 1923 or something like that, when Ataturk took over, you know, they said his people, oh, we inherited from Ottoman Empire something called symphony orchestra. What shall we do with that? Shall we disband it? He said, no. We need that if we want to have democracy. We need orchestra as an image, because there you have many voices in a tension, but productive tension. So music is not just harmony, you know, that's illusion. That is, the sweet harmony is, what shall I call it? It's I don't even have the word for it, but it's illusion. The great music is balance within tension. You have tension, and in the middle of tension, you create something great. And if there is no tension...
Very interesting thing about the the upside down pyramid, you know, like actually our basic is art and love. It's actually already there, but we actually need to reacquaint ourselves with it in order to be able to perform in whatever it is that we're doing so much better. Now, Miha, my question to you is, especially we see the world now focusing more on fear rather than love, you know, more on profit rather than, I don't know, teamwork or collaboration. What happened, do you think, that we get so divorced from our artistic side? Because if you look at a child, every child is artistic and creative, right? But at some point we lose it along the way.
How creative to be able to stand up and walk.
And,
how much?
And with your method, it's almost like rediscovering that childish creativity and artists. But what happened that we get so divorced, do you think, from this?
Well, as you know, it's not all rosy, the world around us. There are interests to make us part of the big machine. There are such interests everywhere, because let's face it, that's how the world is. You know, human life is centered, or it's called upon the highest possibility, which is called freehood. I don't like say freedom, because that's passive word.
Freehood, I guess.
Freehood, I say. Freiheit in German. Freehood, which means that you truly are sovereign human being who out of yourself decide everything you want to do, and because you are sovereign, it resonates with others as well. So you don't make the others unfree by your being truly sovereign. Now, this is the goal, and I'll tell you, that is only possible if also the worst is possible. So freehood is a chance that gambles with a lot of danger, a lot of risk. So we live in a very risky world, and you have your choices. So in other words, we are dealing here with something that is so precious, to be sovereign human being who decides out on themselves and is not doing because he's told what to do. This is so precious that we have to expect that there is also the other side present, which tries to rob you of the freedom or freehood. And then, of course, that is also there, and you don't need to open your eyes too wide to see that. You just have to look around and be independent observer, not just reading and listening what media tells you, for instance. You have to listen like you listen to great music. You have to listen in many layers. What is behind the words, and so on. So this, you see, with your question, we are opening a very, very big array of problems and dilemmas of human life. And I generally don't like to criticize things. I rather say, how can we do something that is very constructive, that very much goes in the right direction, and then let's see what happens. Because if you start looking at the negative sides of life, there are so many that you just drown in that, and you lose the hope, and you lose the intensity and intention, and you just say, well, I'm so small, I cannot do any difference, and so on, and you disappear. And this is really what the dark side of life would like to happen. But I like to remind people that every human being, we have a very high origin. There is heavens in every one of us, potentially. So if we know where we want to go, and if we are consequent, and if we have courage to go for the highest, I say actually to go for impossible. So the artist, true artist, only wants to achieve impossible. The possible things we leave to the others. So anyway, so that is what I try to sustain, and to, like we had these sessions yesterday and today, and we have already discussed here with my dear friends in Indonesia how we are going to create a project which will involve different domains of society in Indonesia, which, for instance, we would create a journey, a model that would be like a journey going to the magic spots of your country. And on this journey, then we invite executives from different countries, and they are going to the inner and outer journey. They learn the qualities of your great culture, while at the same time they are learning about leadership. They go through the music, they go through arts, they go through these gorgeous architectural settings that you have, and maybe at the end they even make vacations and something like that. But we are already talking about connecting different fields. I call this mythological tourism, mythotourism, where you go on journey, and when you come back you are changed human being.
If we look at the, sort of the end result, the social art, what is in your mind the ideal, company, which, the bottom line is met, it's profitable, yet at the same time, that HR, that human resonance is always served.
This line here used to be below, before I turned the pyramid, no? There was, like this, it was a bottom line. Now this is the upper line. I call this economy of meaning. I'm sorry that it sounds so idealistic. When you said idealistic, I was asking...
in a good way.
Yeah, because if we don't have ideals, we get nowhere. Ideals, when they are very high, we may never reach them, but we have a drive. Something, it's inspiration that drives you to the ideal. Now, Indeed, in business, it's very often just bottom line that matters. But music is written on 5 lines. You see? It's written on 5 lines. So I tell business leaders, what are your other 4 lines about? So you can write a good music on in your business. Right. Yes, it's coming. Corporate responsibility, sustainability, and, they are coming. They are coming, the other lines. So when we have more lines and when we change indicators, when we don't look only at GDP, but we say quality of life is also part of indicator. And actually, when we change the language, when we say no anymore execution, we say now implementation. Execution comes from military. Or we say brainstorming, brainstorming, cold. No, heartstorming. Why not? These kind of things. If you start changing language, people already see light at the end of the tunnel.
Okay, Miha, before I let you go, do you enjoy what you do? Are you, what have
Don't you
learned?
notice?
Yeah, no, I see you very, very passionate, very committed.
Yeah.
But
you know what? I'll tell you something
okay.
bad about that. The difference between artist fully engaged in what he or she is doing and manager in a company is this. We connect 600% with what we do because we love what we do. And in organization, unfortunately, it is not enough of a masterpiece that managers would love it for 600%. They give 10% of their being and the 90%, is waiting, crying. It's not involved. So involvement is called identification, which means identity. You find in your work your identity. And how do we create, now back to HR, this is the HR really stuff. How do we create resonance in your work so you can connect with it? You find so much meaning that you are fully standing in your work. So that is my response to what you just said. I'm sorry to step me off.
But how do you see yourself? Because I know that sometimes we get caught up in labels. You see yourself like I'm a musician or I'm an expert, consultant,
catalyst.
or whatever.
Catalyst.
A catalyst.
Catalyst. Yeah. I come around.
So this is how you see your role.
Yes. I help people remember who they are. I say, remember the future. Remember the future. Because if we forget the past, we cannot make any step in the future. In a sense, we have to remember all that is behind us and then dare to step in the future with that big experience.
And remember who we are. I like that. Who are we?
Yes, this is, you see, who are we? You are now coming to a question that can hardly go on television. This is so intimate and personal that most people will now just turn out their television because it becomes uninteresting. When things get very personal, they don't watch anymore. Sorry. Yes, who are we? Who am I? Who are you? You see, this is something that can only be approached by understanding that time is a secondary reality. Primary reality is above time. It is timeless. It is always at the same time, but always full of experience from the beginning to the end. And that is where identity is to be searched for, of each of us.
Oh yeah, that's very profound, very spiritual in a way. Anyway, Miha, it's been a great pleasure talking to you. I'm extremely inspired, and thank you also for reminding us that actually what our basic needs are,
But you know what I observe? That you also connect with your work. And that is beautiful because you are passionate about what you do. I
get to meet interesting people like you.
I had many interviews in my life, I'll tell you. And this is the best so far.
Now you're being too generous. Anyway, thank you so much having you with us. And we certainly look forward to seeing more of you in this part of the world. And thank you for doing such great work.
You're welcome.
And very inspiring. A catalyst for all the good things in life. Ya, demikian bincang-bincang kali ini bersama Miha Pogacnik, I'm pronouncing your name rightly, khususnya mengenai bagaimana peran musik dapat membantu kita untuk mempelajari cara-cara kepemimpinan yang baru. Okay?
I will add something more at the end.
Okay, sure.
I would like to address my new friends here in Indonesia and many who will.
Okay, then
meet
you can talk to that.
I would like to
camera.
tell I come from Slovenia,
And you're the
very,
cultural ambassador of Slovenia.
Yes, I just want to say that it is my honor that if I open my mouth any place in the world, it actually is also official for my country, because I am cultural ambassador of the Republic of Slovenia. So I would like to give many greetings to new friends that will come to assist us and to become co-creators of this new opportunity for art to become supportive of decision making in corporate world or whatever. Yeah.
Okay, well I think it's a good note to end on it. Okay, once again, thank you very much. Okay, ya demikian Insight kali ini bersama saya Desi Anwar. Jangan lupa untuk hadir dalam Insight besok pada waktu yang sama. Terima kasih, sampai jumpa dan bye-bye.